Hello, I'm Roger Coghill, and I want to talk about another plant out of the three that I've chosen to talk about in view of their benefits to our lifestyle. And this one, the third one, is Cannabis sativa, but there are in fact quite a few varieties of cannabis, such as Cannabis indica and Afghanistani and others, which also would form a part of that kind of plant genus. Well, the first two plants I talked about were aloe vera and well, the plant it's a grass called tall fescue or Festuca arundinacea. But the point of my talking about both of those was for their ingredients. In the first case of some rather unusual sugars which benefit us, and in the second case for the melatonin levels in that particular grass. And now I'm going to talk about Cannabis sativa principally, not because of its potential as a psychoactive drug, because the psychoactivity of Cannabis sativa can only be induced by heating it or drying it and then smoking it. Those kinds of processes are needed before cannabis as a plant becomes psychoactive. I'm going to talk about another ingredient in cannabis called CBD or cannabidiol rather than THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, the latter being the psychoactive ingredient and the former being that which conveys benefits to human beings. In the kind of cannabis I'm talking about, you could go into a fishing shop and buy it as hemp. We all know it as hemp, and as hemp it's been around for thousands of years and been used to make ropes and garments, materials and many other things, and it's pretty common. It's used as a bait in fishing, seeds that is. I'm actually going to be talking about the leaf rather than the seeds, but it's the same as fisherman's hemp in this case, and you can get a license to manufacture it as an industrial hemp license, and it doesn't cost very much to do that. But the politics of this plant have been rather disastrous in that it's been made an illegal drug for many years, but that's now being changed by our Parliament in the UK and has been changed in some other countries for some years now, because its medical uses are now at last being recognised. The medical uses of CBD, which you can get from this plant, are that, for example, it reduces pain. It reduces pain for people with multiple sclerosis. And indeed there is now a product on the market, Sativex, which can be prescribed for people with multiple sclerosis. But that's not the only thing that CBD can do. It can also reduce seizures in epileptic patients. It has a benefit for people with rheumatoid arthritis. It has a strengthening effect on the immune system and so on. And in fact it's a pretty good thing to have on a regular basis, provided of course that you don't at the same time involve yourself in the psychoactive part of Cannabis sativa. There must be many plants which can only be used when they've been processed in some way. The best way to deal with Cannabis sativa, however, is not to heat it up and to juice it into juice from by means of a juicer, or to dry it slowly and carefully without lifting the temperature and then mill it down into a powder. All those ways will avoid exciting the THC part of the plant. And in fact, in normal hemp, you will find that the THC level is less than 0.5%, whereas in the kinds of plants which have been cultivated and the strains which have been developed for use as a recreational drug have much higher THC levels, and that of course is not what we want. So the kinds of strains which are needed to make it into a beneficial plant are those which have very high CBD levels and very low THC levels, and that's what you'll find in normal hemp. Well, that is the kind of plant which is finally being accepted. Indeed, if you watch the Parliament debates on television, you'll see there was a debate on October the 11th in Westminster Hall, where all the pros and cons of cannabis and medical cannabis were aired, and that in turn led to a statement by the Minister of Health on the 27th of October of 2015 to say that in the new bill, which is coming out in the next year, in the early part of next year, that medical cannabis would be excluded from prescription, so that people who cultivated medical cannabis would not be facing prosecution for possession or manufacture of what was previously an illegal drug. That doesn't mean to say that cannabis as a whole is still available to anyone to make, grow, because the only reason other than medical cannabis for growing it is for use as a prescriptional drug or recreational drug, and that still carries with it the stigma of prosecution, though in fact the level of interest by the police authorities in people holding small amounts of cannabis is waning, and I think in Wales it's now down to 6%, and the number of prosecutions, seizures have been dropping every year and are down by about 17% last year. So we are now finally recognizing the benefits of using this plant, and I hope that in the years to come we will see a lot more research into it to see how cannabinoids, as they call generally, and there are 200 of them in the plant, but they're not just one or two as I've described, they can be made useful for mankind as anti-inflammatories and so on. Well, those are the three plants I wanted to bring to your attention. Simple processing without damaging the protein structure of the ingredients can, taken together, make a really important contribution to our lifestyle health. And so I hope that you will be able to get hold of this kind of mixture in the near future, and our lab is busy doing research onto it with a view to developing specific products which we will hope to encapsulate and put on the market later in 2016, and have in place our various licenses to produce these food supplements, rather than follow the route of making them into medical products. Well, thanks for listening, and I hope that these talks have been of some interest to you, and I hope to be giving some more on various parts of the natural world and the way in which natural plants can help us to remain healthy. Thank you so much.